Dr. Zenthera stared at the small body lying on the medical bed. Her 6 eyes moved between the glowing screens and the dying child. The numbers were getting worse every hour. The little girl's skin kept changing from blue to gray, which meant her 2 hearts were failing. The child was from a planet called Kythera. She was only 6 years old by human standards. Her whole world had exploded when their star died. Now she was one of the last of her kind in the entire galaxy. Maybe only 10 or 12 Kytherians were still alive anywhere. Doctor, her assistant Vex said through his translation device. Another specialist has said no. That makes 20 different doctors from 20 different planets who won't take this case. Zenthera clicked her sharp teeth together. She had been trying to save this child for 3 months. The girl had been found floating in a broken escape pod near the edge of space. When they brought her to the medical station, she was already very sick. The problem was unlike anything in their medical books. The child's body was rejecting every treatment they tried. Her cells were breaking down at the smallest level. Every machine they connected to her made things worse. Every medicine they gave her caused more problems. It was like her body was fighting against being saved. What about the human medical facility? Vex asked. The one on station Kepler 7? They haven't answered yet. Zenthera made a sound that was like laughing, but not happy. Humans? Their medicine is like playing with toys compared to the great healers of Vorthan or the bio-builders of New Centauri. If the smartest doctors in the galaxy cannot help this child, what can those newcomers do? She looked at the child again. The little girl had been unconscious for 2 weeks. Her name was in the Kytherian language, but it sounded like musical notes that no other species could make. The nurses just called her patient 247. The child's file was thick with test results and failed treatments. Every day brought new problems. Her blood was wrong. Her bones were becoming soft. Her brain scans showed she was in pain even while unconscious. Most concerning was how her body rejected any artificial help. The moment they connected life support machines, her condition got worse. I have seen many strange diseases, Zenthera said to Vex. I have treated patients from over 100 different worlds. But this child's body is fighting against everything we do to help her. Vex looked at the readings. Maybe her species is just too different. Maybe Kytherians cannot survive without others of their kind. This made Zenthera think. Before their world died, Kytherians lived in large family groups. They were known across the galaxy for being very social. Adults worked together on everything. Children were never alone. They shared thoughts and feelings in ways other species could not understand. Interesting theory, Zenthera said, but it does not explain why her cells are dying. This is not about emotions. This is about biology. But even as she said this, she noticed something in the data. Every time a nurse touched the child's hand during tests, her heart rate became more stable. When someone spoke to her, even though she was unconscious, her brain activity increased slightly. When the medical room was busy with people, her breathing was easier. When the room was empty and quiet, her condition got worse. Zenthera had dismissed these small changes as coincidence. Medical equipment sometimes gave strange readings. But now, looking at 3 months of data, she saw a pattern. Vex, look at these numbers. Compare her vital signs during shift changes when many people are in a room versus late at night when she is alone. Vex studied the data for several minutes. His large eyes grew wider. Doctor, her cellular breakdown slows when there are more people around. It speeds up during quiet periods. That makes no sense, Zenthera said. Cellular death is not affected by social situations. But the numbers did not lie. During busy day shifts when nurses, doctors, and technicians moved in and out of her room, the child's body fought harder against the disease. During night shifts, when she was alone except for one monitoring nurse, her condition declined faster. Perhaps, Vex suggested carefully, Kytherian physiology is more connected to their social nature than we understood. Zenthera rejected this idea immediately. She was a scientist. She believed in facts and data, not in soft theories about emotions affecting biology. But the evidence was becoming impossible to ignore. As she watched, The child's breathing became more difficult. Her skin was turning more gray than blue. The machines around her bed beeped warnings that her body was shutting down. Send the case file to every remaining medical facility in this sector, Zenthera ordered. Someone, somewhere, must have knowledge we lack. Including the human station? Vex asked. Zenthera looked at the dying child one more time. Her scientific pride wanted to say no. Humans were new to galactic medicine. They had been part of the galactic community for less than 50 years. Their technology was primitive compared to species that had been practicing medicine for thousands of years. But this child was dying, and 20 of the galaxy's best doctors had failed to help her. Yes, she said finally. Include the humans. At this point, we have nothing left to lose. Dr. Minji Kim sat at her desk in the medical center on station Kepler 7. It was late at night, and she was tired from working 2 shifts in a row. The pediatric wing was quiet except for the soft beeping of machines and the gentle hum of life support systems. Her computer made a soft sound to tell her a new message had arrived. She almost ignored it. She had been reading medical files all day and her eyes hurt. But something made her open the message anyway. The file came from Dr. Zenthera at the Galactic Medical Consortium. Minji had heard of her before. She was famous for treating the most difficult cases in the galaxy. If Zenthera was asking for help, the situation must be very serious. Minji opened the medical records and saw the holographic image of a small child floating above her desk. The little girl looked so fragile and pale. Her skin had a strange blue-gray color that Minji had never seen before. Computer, tell me about this patient, she said. Patient is a 6-year-old Kytherian female, the computer replied. Cellular breakdown of unknown cause. Rejection of all medical treatments. 20 galactic specialists have declined the case. Estimated survival time, 72 hours. Minji felt her heart sink. 72 hours meant 3 days. This child was dying, and the smartest doctors in the galaxy had given up on her. She read through the medical data carefully. The child had been found alone in a damaged escape pod. Her planet had been destroyed. Her family was dead. She was completely alone in the universe. But as Minji read more, she started to notice something strange. The other doctors had focused on the child's biology. They wrote about cell damage and organ failure and chemical reactions, but none of them wrote about the child herself. Computer, show me information about Kytherian society and family structure. New images appeared above her desk. She saw pictures of Kytherian families living together in large groups. Adults and children were always touching each other, holding hands, sitting close together. The information said that Kytherians were never alone. Even when they slept, family members stayed nearby. Interesting, Minji said to herself. She looked at the medical data again, but this time she paid attention to different details. Every time the child's condition improved slightly, it was when someone was in the room with her. Every time it got worse, it was when she was alone. The other doctors had written this off as coincidence, but Minji saw a pattern. Dr. Hyunwoo Park, her colleague and friend, found her still at her desk 2 hours later. He was carrying 2 cups of coffee and looked concerned. Minji, you should go home and sleep, he said, setting 1 cup near her computer. You have been working for 16 hours straight. Look at this case, she said, pointing to the hologram. This child is dying, and I think I know why. Hyunwoo sat down and studied the medical records. After a few minutes, he shook his head. This is beyond anything I have seen. The cellular breakdown is happening at the quantum level. Her body is rejecting everything. But look at the timeline, Minji said. She highlighted different parts of the data. See when her vital signs improve? It is always when medical staff are in the room. See when they get worse? Always during quiet periods when she is alone. That could be coincidence. Could be, Minji agreed. But what if it is not? What if Kytherian physiology is connected to their social nature? What if being alone is actually making her sicker? Hyunwoo looked skeptical. That is not how medicine works. Emotions do not cause cellular breakdown. Maybe not for humans, Minji said. But we are not treating a human. We are treating a member of a species that evolved to live in constant social contact. What if isolation is literally toxic to her system? She pulled up more information about Kytherians. Before their planet was destroyed, they lived in family groups of 20 to 30 individuals. Children were never left alone, not even for a few minutes. Adults took turns caring for all the children in the group. This child has been alone in medical facilities for 3 months, Minji continued. She has no family, no friends, no connection to anyone. She is surrounded by strangers who only see her as a medical problem to solve. So what are you suggesting? Hyunwoo asked, though his expression said he already knew the answer. I want to take her home with me, Minji said. I want to foster her. Hyunwoo nearly dropped his coffee. Minji, that is impossible. She needs constant medical monitoring. She could die at any moment. She is going to die anyway, Minji said quietly. Every specialist in the galaxy has said so. But maybe, just maybe, she does not need more medicine. Maybe she needs what she has never had since her rescue. Maybe she needs a family. The bureaucracy alone will take weeks. Interspecies fostering requires approvals from 12 different departments. Then we start the paperwork tonight, Minji said. She was already pulling up the necessary forms on her computer. Even if I am wrong about the medical aspects, this child deserves to spend her last days in a home instead of a hospital room. Hyunwoo watched his friend work. He had known Minji for 5 years, and he recognized the determination in her voice. When she made up her mind about something, especially something involving a sick child, nothing could stop her. You really think love can cure quantum cellular breakdown? He asked. Minji looked at the image of the dying child floating above her desk. I do not know if love can cure her disease, but I know isolation is killing her faster than any medicine can help her. Sometimes being a doctor means more than prescribing treatments. Sometimes it means giving a patient what they need to want to live. The paperwork took 2 long weeks. Minji filled out forms every day after her shifts. She had to get permission from the station commander, the medical board, the Alien Rights Committee, and 6 other departments. Each form asked the same questions over and over again. During those 2 weeks, the Kytherian child got sicker. Her vital signs dropped lower each day. Dr. Zenthera sent daily updates that made Minji's heart hurt. The child had not opened her eyes in 4 days. Her breathing was so weak that machines had to help her lungs work. Finally, all the approvals came through. Minji took the transport shuttle to the medical station where the child was being kept. She brought a small bag with soft clothes, a warm blanket, and a stuffed animal that looked like a friendly alien creature. Dr. Zenthera met her at the entrance to the medical facility. The alien doctor was taller than Minji and had 6 eyes that moved independently. Her skin was dark green with silver markings, and she moved with 4 arms instead of 2. Human Kim, Dr. Zenthera said through her translation device. I must express my concerns about this arrangement. This child requires quantum-level cellular stabilization. Her body systems are failing in ways we do not fully understand. I understand the risks, Minji replied. I have read all the medical files 3 times. I know about her dual heart system, her mineral requirements, and her sensitivity to gravitational changes. Then you understand why this plan is dangerous. She needs constant monitoring. One small change in her condition could be fatal within minutes. Minji nodded. My apartment has full medical monitoring capabilities. I have installed everything she might need. But more importantly, I have studied Kytherian social structures and child development. Dr. Zenthera's eyes moved in different directions as she studied Minji. Explain. Minji activated her tablet and showed the data she had collected. Every specialist has treated this child as a broken biological machine. But look at your own medical records. Her cellular cohesion improves whenever someone maintains physical contact with her. Those are minor fluctuations. They do not indicate significant improvement. But they are consistent, Minji insisted. Every single time someone touches her hand or speaks to her, her body responds positively. Every time she is left alone, her condition deteriorates faster. Dr. Zenthera clicked her sharp teeth together, which Minji had learned was a sign of frustration. Biorhythmic resonance theory has not been proven. The connection between emotional states and cellular function is highly disputed. Then why does her deterioration slow whenever the nurses hold her hand? Minji asked. It is documented in your own medical logs. You have 3 months of data showing this pattern. Dr. Zenthera was quiet for a long moment. Her 6 eyes focused on the tablet screen, studying the data that Minji had highlighted. The correlation was clear, even though it challenged everything she believed about medicine. Before their planet was destroyed, Kytherian children were never alone, Minji continued. They lived in constant contact with family members. They shared emotional and physical connections that we do not fully understand. This child has been isolated in medical facilities for 3 months. What if that isolation is literally poisoning her system? You are suggesting that loneliness causes cellular breakdown at the quantum level, Dr. Zenthera said. That is not scientifically possible. Maybe not for most species, Minji agreed. But Kytherians evolved differently. Their social bonds might be connected to their physical health in ways we have never seen before. They walked through the medical facility toward the child's room. The corridors were white and sterile. Everything smelled like cleaning chemicals and recycled air. Machines beeped constantly. Medical staff moved quickly from room to room, focused on their tasks. This environment might be perfect for treating most patients, Minji said. But for a species that evolved to live in large family groups, this might be the worst possible place for healing. They reached the child's room. Through the glass window, Minji could see the small figure lying motionless on the medical bed. Tubes and wires connected her to various machines. Her skin was more gray than blue now. She has not responded to external stimuli in 6 days, Dr. Zenthera said. Her brain activity suggests she is barely conscious. Minji entered the room quietly. She sat down next to the bed and gently placed her hand on the child's arm. Within seconds, the monitoring equipment showed a small but measurable improvement in her heart rate. Coincidence, Dr. Zenthera said, but her voice was less certain than before. Minji began speaking softly to the child in Korean, then switched to basic galactic standard. She told her that she was not alone anymore, that someone cared about her, that she was going to have a real home. The child's breathing became slightly easier. Her brain activity increased. The machines registered the smallest possible improvement, but it was still improvement. I have seen this pattern dozens of times in your data, Minji said. Every time someone treats her like a person instead of a patient, her body responds. She is not just dying from a medical condition. She is dying from loneliness. Dr. Zenthera studied the monitoring equipment. The changes were small, but they were real. In 3 months of treatment, they had only seen the child's condition get worse. This was the first time anything had made it better, even slightly. Very well, she said finally, but at the first sign of critical decline, she returns to this facility immediately. I understand, Minji said, but I do not think that will be necessary. Sometimes the most advanced medicine is not about technology. Sometimes it is about giving a patient what they need to want to live. Minji's apartment on level 7 of Station Kepler. 7 looked nothing like a medical facility. She had spent days preparing for the child's arrival. The living room was filled with soft cushions and warm blankets. Plants from Earth grew in pots near the windows, making the air smell fresh and alive. Natural lighting panels mimicked the gentle cycle of a planet sun. The child, whom Minji had decided to call Yuna after learning about Kytherian naming traditions, was carried into the apartment on a mobile medical bed. She was so small and fragile that Minji felt her heart break a little. Yuna had not opened her eyes or moved on her own in over a week. Dr. Hyunwoo helped set up the medical equipment. They placed monitoring devices around the room, but Minji made sure they did not look scary or cold. She covered the screens with soft fabric and placed the machines behind plants, so they were hidden but still working. Her vital signs are stable for now, Hyunwoo said, checking the readings on his tablet. But remember any significant change, and we called Dr. Zenthera immediately. Minji nodded as she adjusted Yuna's blankets. The child felt so light, like she was already fading away from the world. But her skin was warm, and her 2 hearts were still beating. even if weekly. The first night was scary. Minji did not sleep much. She sat in a chair next to Yuna's bed, listening to her breathing and watching the gentle rise and fall of her chest. Every few hours, she would place her hand on Yuna's arm and speak to her softly, telling her about the apartment, about Earth, about the stars visible through the window. On the second day, something small but important happened. Minji's cat, a gray tabby named Gom, had been hiding since Yuna arrived. Cats were usually nervous around new smells and sounds. But that morning, Gom crept out from under the sofa and sniffed cautiously around Yuna's bed. The medical equipment showed a tiny improvement in Yuna's heart rate when Gom was nearby. It was so small that most doctors would have ignored it, but Minji had been watching the numbers carefully for days. Any change was significant. "You like cats, do you?" Minji asked Yuna, even though the child could not answer. Gom is very friendly once he gets to know you. By the third day, Gom had claimed a spot on a cushion right next to Yuna's bed. His purring created a constant, gentle vibration that seemed to calm her breathing. The medical monitors showed that Yuna's stress levels were the lowest they had been in months. Dr. Hyunwoo visited every morning to check on Yuna's condition. He was amazed by the small but steady improvements he was seeing. "Her cellular cohesion has stabilized," he told Minji on the fourth day. "Not improved significantly, but it has stopped getting worse. That is the first time in 3 months that her condition has not declined. She knows she is not alone anymore," Minji said. She was reading a children's book aloud while sitting next to Yuna's bed. Her hand rested gently on Yuna's arm as she read about brave space explorers and friendly aliens. The apartment felt alive in a way that the medical facility never had. Music played softly in the background. Cooking smells came from the kitchen. Sunlight moved across the floor as the station rotated. Gom purred constantly, and sometimes other cats from the neighborhood would visit the balcony, pressing their faces against the glass. On the fifth day, Minji noticed that Yuna's breathing became easier when there were more sounds in the apartment. She started leaving the communication system open, so Yuna could hear the gentle chatter of people in the corridors outside. She played recordings of Earth sounds, birds singing, water flowing, children laughing at play. "The specialist said your condition could not be reversed," Minji told Yuna one evening as she helped her take liquid nutrients through a feeding tube. "But they were thinking about your body like a machine that was broken. They did not think about what your heart and mind needed to heal." That night, something wonderful happened. As Minji was reading a story about a little star that refused to give up its light, she felt Yuna's fingers move slightly against her hand. It was barely noticeable, but it was definitely movement. "Yuna?" Minji whispered, "Can you hear me?" For the first time since her rescue 4 months ago, Yuna's eyelids fluttered. They did not open, but they moved. The medical equipment registered increased brain activity and improved circulation. Minji felt tears in her eyes. "You're going to be okay," she whispered. "You have a home now. You have someone who cares about you. You are not alone anymore." Gom seemed to sense the change, too. He moved from his cushion onto the bed itself, curling up gently against Yuna's side. His purring grew louder, and the vibration seemed to help Yuna's breathing become even more steady. Dr. Hyunwoo arrived for his evening check and immediately noticed improvements in all of Yuna's readings. "This is remarkable," he said, studying his tablet in amazement. "Her vital signs are stronger than they have been since her rescue. Her brain activity shows she is becoming more conscious." Minji smiled as she watched Yuna's face. There was color in her cheeks for the first time, a pale blue that was much healthier than the gray she had been before. "She needed what every child needs," Minji said softly. "She needed to know that someone loved her enough to fight for her life." 6 weeks after Yuna came to live with Minji, something amazing happened that would change medicine across the galaxy forever. Dr. Zenthera arrived at Minji's apartment with 3 other alien doctors and 2 medical specialists from different planets. They all carried scanning equipment and looked very serious. Word had spread to the medical community that something impossible was happening on Station Kepler 7. When they walked into the living room, they stopped and stared. Yuna was sitting up on her bed, without any machines helping her breathe. Her skin was a beautiful bright blue color that showed she was healthy. She was gently petting Gom the cat, who purred loudly in her lap. "This cannot be correct," Dr. Zenthera said, looking at her scanning device. "The readings show cellular cohesion at 87% and still improving. Her dual heart synchronization is perfect. All signs of quantum cellular breakdown have completely reversed." The other doctors ran their own scans. Every piece of equipment showed the same impossible results. This child, who had been dying just weeks ago, was now healthier than most patients who had never been sick at all. "How is this possible?" asked Dr. Vorden, a famous healer from the Crystal Worlds. "We documented complete cellular breakdown. Her condition was terminal. No known treatment could reverse quantum-level deterioration." Minji sat down next to Yuna on the bed. The child leaned against her like she had been doing her whole life. "We stopped treating her like a broken machine and started treating her like a child who needed love and family." "That is not a medical explanation," Dr. Zenthera said, but her voice was less certain than before. "Is it not?" Minji asked. "Look at your own data from the past 6 weeks. Every improvement coincided with Yuna feeling safer and more connected to others. Kytherian physiology is directly linked to their emotional well-being in ways we never understood before." Dr. Hyunwoo joined them, carrying his tablet with weeks of documented observations. The isolation of medical facilities was literally killing her at the cellular level. Her species evolved to survive in large family groups. Being alone activated stress responses that cause her body to break down. But the quantum cellular damage, Dr. Vorden started to say, reversed itself once she felt loved and secure. Minji interrupted. Her body stopped fighting against life and started fighting for it. The change happened gradually as she learned to trust that she had a permanent home. Yuna looked up at all the doctors surrounding her bed. She was no longer afraid of them. Over the past weeks, she had learned that not all medical people were scary. Some of them, like Minji and Hyunwoo, were kind and gentle. She spoke for the first time since the doctors had arrived, her words translated by the small device on her collar. "Minji-amma reads me stories every night. Gom sleeps with me, so I am not scared. I have a family now." The word "amma" meant mother in Korean. Minji had taught it to Yuna, and hearing it always made her heart feel warm and full. Dr. Zenthera stared at her scanning equipment again. Everything she had learned in decades of medical training told her this recovery was impossible, but the evidence was right in front of her. This child was not just alive, she was thriving. "We need to document everything," she said finally. "This case will revolutionize how we understand the connection between emotional health and physical healing. If loneliness can cause cellular breakdown in Kytherians, how many other species might have similar hidden vulnerabilities?" Over the following weeks, medical schools across the galaxy began adding new courses about emotional healing and cross-species psychology. The case became known as the Human Foster Protocol. Doctors learned that sometimes the most advanced medicine was not about fancy technology, but about understanding what patients truly needed to recover. Dr. Zenthera herself spent months studying Yuna's recovery. She co-wrote a famous research paper about bioemotional resonance therapy that became required reading in medical schools everywhere. But none of the galactic fame and recognition mattered to Minji and Yuna. In their apartment on Station Kepler 7, they had created something much more valuable than medical history. They had created a real family. Yuna grew stronger every day. She learned to speak Korean and Galactic Standard fluently. She helped Minji take care of the plants. And she taught Gom tricks that cats were not supposed to be able to learn. She went to school with other children on the station and made friends from a dozen different planets. Sometimes at night, when Yuna had bad dreams about her destroyed homeworld, Minji would hold her and remind her that she was safe now. She had a home that no one could take away. She had a mother who would always fight for her. "You saved my life," Yuna told Minji one evening as they watched the stars through their window. "No," Minji replied, stroking Yuna's soft blue hair. "You saved your own life by choosing to trust me. You decided to fight and live instead of giving up. I just gave you a reason to keep fighting." Yuna smiled and curled up closer to Minji. Gom purred contentedly between them, And outside their window, the stars of the galaxy shone brightly. The same stars that had witnessed the impossible recovery of one small child who learned that love truly could heal anything. The galaxy's medical experts had declared her case hopeless. But one human foster mother had looked at that diagnosis and said the two most powerful words in any language: "Not today."